Hey guys, Fets here from 11 Bravo Gaming with another tactical player review. If you're watching this on my channel, then you're very familiar with this type of video. I've done it a few times before. If you're watching this on Kulprit's channel, well, Kulprit has been gracious enough to send in one of his gameplays. He has asked me to take a look at it, break it down, and review it and provide some feedback. He is doing this in the spirit of improvement, of learning a little bit about how he plays. Not that I'm a better player than him in any capacity, but it just helps to have another set of eyes look at your gameplay sometimes. So I've done a few of these on my channel where I kind of will stop at key moments and take a closer look at things and just review the gameplay. I am a console player. This is a 32-man server, so there's a few more players than I'm used to, but by and large, nothing's going to be too different. For example, right here, there's nothing tactical or strategy-wise to talk about, just good gun skills. He had good awareness, good reflexes, and that's going to apply on any system you play on. Sometimes you just have to win gunfights to get an MCOM armed. He didn't do anything super brilliant there. He just made a good play. Now what he does well here is he drops into a good position to cut off the enemy. It's going to be very unlikely that any of these enemies rushing up from the left, which is a hot spot on this map, are going to be able to, even if they have the awareness to check that corner where he's at, they got too many other angles to be worried about. They're not really going to be able to stop and take care of him there before he can shoot them because he's already aimed down sight on them. I see him go back to check on the MCOM, and I see there's already 5 or 6 guys sitting on it, which is it's good. So he starts to move up after they take the MCOM. I don't know if that was just a lack of map knowledge there, but hiding behind that car is never a good idea. The cars explode and they will kill you. But he makes up for it. As he checks that corner, he comes down here and takes up a really good position. So he gets into a stable shooting platform. He's laying prone behind this cover. And he has a really good angle on the enemies as they rush up through here. I can hear him. I have the audio turned down so you don't hear it, but he's slamming that Q, the spot button, and he's constantly trying to spot guys, so he's providing intel back to his team. And at the same time, he's just killing a whole lot of people as they rush up through here. And even if he's not killing them, you see the suppression assist pop up, and you know that the enemy's suppressed. He's denying access to this lane. And that's helping his team move around the map a little bit and get some footing going. So, really good use there. Coming back to revive is always useful. He's playing with a strong meta class, with the M16. And, everything's going pretty well to this point. As he starts to move up the map, I feel that he exposes himself too much right here. He's not really taking his time coming around that corner. He just saw an enemy rush through there, so he knows there's enemies in that area. And instead of cautiously approaching that corner and slowly peeking around the corner, he just kind of pushes up to it. And that was definitely something where at times you have to slow down. And I know what happens a lot of times is things are going so well, you begin to get that Superman syndrome. And I'm not saying that's what happened to him, but that happens all the time to me. Game is going great. I'm getting kills. I'm denying the enemy's movement. I'm making them my bitch to some extent, which he has done really well to that point. Now you see him come back more cautiously. I don't like that he moved up while he's reloading right there and again hides behind a car. But it is good cover, and he is being more cautious as he approaches the area this time. He's waiting for some teammate support, and he's making a good flank on the MCOM. Now he stops out in the open here. I like that he's dedicated to putting fire on the MCOM. And in reality, he knows that it's already armed in that situation. He just needs to get there and apply pressure to it. Because a lot of times in a rush, winning is just about applying pressure. You might die a lot, but as long as you got more bodies moving into a choke point than the enemy, you can pound through that choke point. And that's kind of what was going on there. He wanted to be able to put some suppression, some fire, whatever he had to do on the MCOM. Because you get to that point and staying alive doesn't really matter. It's all about getting the MCOM. That's, especially once you've taken the first one, so you've now unified the defense. So if you're an experienced Battlefield player and you played a lot of Rush, you understand that when there's 2 MCOMs, it's easy to take 1 MCOM. Because the defense has to be divided. If you can draw them all to one, then they can't cover the other. So once you take 1 MCOM though, you better be damn sure you didn't take the hard one first. That was a big issue in Bad Company 2. It still applies to a lot of maps in Battlefield 3. But he knows that with one MCOM left like that, it becomes crucial. I felt like he got a little bit of tunnel vision there. Locked into that one enemy, didn't switch over quick enough. Luckily, throughout this game, you're going to see his team is doing a really good job of getting revives. Not any armor to worry about on this map necessarily, other than the couple of Jeeps. So everyone runs Medic. I notice I don't play a lot of PC. I play a little bit of PC. Medic is far more prevalent as a class on PC than on console. On console, you'd see a lot of support guys, you'd see a lot of snipers, recon, and you'd still see a lot of engineers even on a map like this. I play engineers sometimes on this. I like that he gets a nice flank on those guys there. He loses track of that defender though, and that was like he went around that barricade or whatever, the divider, the stone slab there, and Kulprit kind of just lets him go instead of pursuing, and it felt like he was a little bit unsure of which way he wanted to go to prepare for that encounter. And the result was that hesitation led to no preparation. Now here I want to stop and look at this a little closer. If the enemy on the right is the only enemy he has to worry about, he peeks this corner properly. But the fact that an enemy can come from the left in the red means he completely overextended that corner. As you watch him come around there, if he's worried about an enemy on the left, he should have been far more cautious and far less exposed. But he continued to push out, worried about the enemy on the right or the threat from the enemy on the right. It was very unfortunate that both of them came out at the same time. If he had been less aggressive, he could have taken down the left enemy first without exposing himself to the right enemy. And then he could have taken down the right enemy in time, gotten a reload in, backed off, and let him come to him being in a good defensive position on the corner. That would have been a better play in that situation. Where he's at now is a little bit overextended. They're in this corner with no cover. The defenders know they're here. He's not running a suppressor, and even if he was, a good chance someone else is not. So being stuck in that corner leaves you very vulnerable. There's not much you can do. You see he goes for the revive and puts his gun away, and that's when he gets taken out. Bad timing. But that corner is that's a tough place to be in, because you're going to be a sitting duck. Basically, the enemy has you trapped in that corner. You have no cover to hide behind. And as long as they still keep throwing bodies at you, they're going to take you out eventually if they're smart. So they do. They know they can't leave those guys sit there, and they take them out. And that's just something where, as you push up, it's important to be aware of where to stop on rush on a map like this. This is kind of a unique map to Battlefield. It's a little bit different than traditional like Bad Company 2 rush maps, which were really good rush maps. But this map can be, if the teams are balanced, really good on rush, and I think we see that here. They struggle to push up at times. At other times it's pretty easy, so the teams are really balanced. In this situation, he starts to push up into the courtyard. He's pretty close to the front line. He's got some teammates pushing up on the left, and he does a good job of kind of approaching it slow at first, but then he thinks it's clear and he starts to move out into it without any cover. So that would have been a situation where I would have liked to have seen him move from cover to cover more effectively. So in the Army, they teach you, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down. Basically, you jump up, you move, you're down, you have 3 seconds to get from cover to cover to be safe. And in video games, you're going to have your own internal clock that applies in different situations in a very similar manner. So in that situation, he peeked, he thought he was safe, he went to move, and he stayed exposed too long. And that's a really useful thing to internalize. So we all do it naturally. Like, you're sitting here saying, obviously, Fetz, I'm aware of this, I know that I have to get behind cover. But it helps to draw this conclusion out consciously and think through it and understand that based on where you're at, you need to have more of an awareness of how much time you have to find cover. We like to stand out in the open and fight these Wild West gunslinger battles, and we all do it. The only time you don't see it is in high-level competitive play, where guys are playing a lot smarter than that, and they're kind of more disciplined because they're practicing constantly. So as pub players, that's something we can learn a little bit from, that is to be more aware of cover and more religious in our use of cover. So they've moved on to the final set of MCOMs. Everything has gone really well for his team right up to this point. These MCOMs aren't too difficult to take. They can get very chaotic though, and it gets very chaotic for Kulprit and his team in this situation. He gets a lot of deaths here, which is fine. You know, the deaths are great because he's being aggressive and he's trying to help establish positioning for his team and spotting guys getting out front, and a lot of really good play like that, good grenade tosses, keeping enemies pinned back. All these things you need to do to win Rush are going on right now, and so I think everything's going really well right here. He's getting revives, but things start to get really tough for his team. They really start to bog down. And how often have you had this happen in Rush? It can be very difficult. I think he's on here by himself. There's no team chat going on, so on my videos you're going to see a lot of team chat that I use because that's a big part of my playing style, and I feel like playing solo is so difficult that it can be very frustrating when you're not communicating. Even with the ability to type on PC, it's hard to get people coordinated, and I see throughout this there's people typing one behind you and stuff, so that's happening. But he makes a pretty big mistake here. He lets that guy go, and check out the mini map there. The guy turns around immediately to start pursuing him, and it's probably, I'm not watching the names that close, but it's probably the guy that comes back for him. In addition, he died with 2 grenades in his pocket right there. He gets caught in a reload situation with multiple enemies, and that's a really shitty situation to be in. It's going to be pretty much impossible to shoot your way out of that, but you can at least drop a suicide grenade and know that you're going to disperse the enemy even if you don't get any kills. And chances are he's going to get a kill and they're going to get revived by a medic, but what that does is it slows down the defense. So if they're spending time picking up revives and having to worry about grenades and backing off from grenades, you're letting your team push up. So that suicide grenade would have been huge right there. Now the other thing that starts happening, he comes out of his spawn, he gets caught out in the open in a zone that he thinks is secure based on where he was fighting from earlier before this life. He thinks he should be secure right here, I think. And as he starts pushing up, he becomes aware pretty quickly that no, this is not a secure zone. And I like that he finds cover and he slows down and starts scoping it out. But look at what I've blown up on the map here. He's the furthest person back on the team right now. If you're the rear person, you're on rear security. That means you've got to have your head on a swivel, and you've got to be aware of the person back raging your team. No one likes to do this. This is something that no one does unless they're being made aware of it, or, you know, we'll call it out to each other. You're last, you got rear security. We'll actually say stuff like that in the game as a reminder that if you're the furthest person back in the squad, you need to just every once in a while turn around and look behind you and at least get a call out, because nothing is worse than getting completely wiped out by one guy who comes up behind you. So that's a good takeaway from that. It's hard to do, especially playing solo, but minimap awareness comes in big time there. So you see that they have just the one MCOM left. The MCOM is lit. He's got a really good spawn position on some buddies near the MCOM here. He gets a little confused actually where he's at, which when I watched it I was too. He gets in this room and everyone is shooting at the MCOM and he joins in, and that's kind of the wrong thing to do. He gets a bad nade. Ignore that. You know, everything is chaotic right now, but I like that what he finally does is he turns and he seals the enemy spawn approach. He goes to his right here, peeks out at where the enemy should be coming from, and looks to lock that down. Now unfortunately he's forced to turn his attention to the MCOM where he should be sealing that spawn route. He has to come back because his whole team just got wiped out there. It was crazy. He gets a kill on it, but unfortunately, you know, dropping your pistol in that situation where the enemy's rushing strong like that, there's just nothing he could do. It was a really good effort on his part and his whole team, but in the end, they failed to get that last MCOM, and that's okay because we learn a lot from losses. And this has been a fantastic video to go over and watch. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'd like to do this again and in the future and just do some follow-ups on this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're watching this on Kulprit's channel, come check us out, 11 Bravo Gaming, and leave some feedback on what I missed in the game and what you would have done differently, or stuff that you would point out differently in review. For 11 Bravo Gaming, this is Fetz, and I'm out.